All right, good afternoon, everybody. Chris Lester here. This is a topic that I find is often misunderstood and a lot of people have questions about. So we took our coursework that when we run classes over at Rutgers at the business, when they're not in a COVID environment, and we broke it down so it wasn't so voluminous in the content. For those of you that are on this call that may not know who I am, my name's Chris Lester. I'm going to be your host. I'm a financial advisor, been in the business 30 years. We also are part of a group or an organization called the Eagle Team. And the Eagle Team is a group of like-minded advisors that are nationwide. And we're holistic in our approach. Nothing's going to be sold here. What we believe in is if I can educate you, if we can educate you on how things work, you can make better decisions. If you've been on this series in the past, I would like audience participation. Social Security decisions should not be made go ahead and type in the chat if you've been on here in the past. Let's see if anybody remembered from episode 1 what I said. Social Security decisions should not be made all right, got one there. Let's see what somebody said. Vacuum, very good. Vacuum. So we got some people paying attention. Good. So you guys have all passed the quiz. And again, thank you for playing. But I do know that people quite often will get what we call water cooler advice. And sometimes, as you've seen over the last couple of weeks, that it really is specific to your circumstances. So again, we've run these classes through Rutgers, but if you were invited here by another advisor, or maybe you've missed some of the past sessions, just circle back with that advisor or me and my staff, and we'll get you links to the past recordings. But when you're working, so this is, I think is an important slide because this number's been creeping up. But when you think about it, let's say that you wake up one day and you're 62 and you say, that's it. I'm done working. I'm going to collect Social Security. I'm going to get mine now because I'm afraid it's going to run out of money. Okay, but that decision, what people don't realize is that you have to earn less than $18,960 or you begin to lose $1 for every $2 over that. So if you earned $18,962 as an Uber driver, you would owe the government $1. So keep that in mind. When you say to the government, I want my Social Security, and you are not full retirement age, that there is a penalty for continuing to work. So keep that in mind. The year that you actually do reach your full retirement age, you're allowed to earn a little bit more. And then obviously, once you reach your full retirement age, and that could be age 66 and 8 months, 10 months, or maybe, and for a lot of us, it's age 67, then there's no limit. Then you could say, hey, I'm going to continue to work in my current field of study, or I could pursue that career path, that second income earning goal or dream that you had all these years that you say, I'm going to start a new career path. If you do so, no income limit at full retirement age. So Social Security, due to demographic changes in the US, the Social Security system could face many financial challenges due to declining fertility rates and increasing life expectancies. Today, 12% of the total population is 65 and older. But by 2080, that'll be 23%. So I know 2080 seems a way off. And you go, well, what difference does that make? But you'll see here that it's not sustainable because, again, it really wasn't designed to be a retirement system. It was actually designed for old age. But people, when this was first created, people weren't, mortality, a lot of people weren't making it past 65 or 70, 75. Now we have more centurions ever, and it's looking like that will be a continuing upward trend. So as a result, the Social Security system is experiencing a declining worker to benefit ratio. This presents a challenge to policymakers. So in 1960, so you had 5 people to every 1 retiree contributing into the system. And then by 2005, right, 3 to 1. Now, we've all seen what's happened over the last 20 years and that our politicians have grown accustomed to spending. They like to spend. And this is the area where, if you get me on a one-on-one where I start to talk about the potential for increased taxation in the future, right? It's because of this right here. Social Security is going to be here, but it's in what capacity or what format in the future. Well, by 2040, they're saying, hey, it'll be 2 to 1, right? So for every 2 workers, is got to pay into the system to cover one person's benefit. So that's the math behind it. But in order to maintain this, reform is forming, right? We hear this, you see the articles in, the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, right? Restructuring Social Security always seems to be on the political agenda. I mean, nobody in their right mind that wants to be a politician wants to go in and say, hey, let's make people wait to get their Social Security. That'd be political suicide. But at the end of the day, math is starting to rear its ugly head, right? The possible changes in the future, and they typically throw this in some type of when they want to pass a bill, right? When they want to pass some type of relief to the public, they'll sneak it in there. They could raise the full retirement age, right? So that's right now it's 67. Again, if you're on this call, chances are slim to zero that they're going to change anything with your current benefits, right? The only questions you have is when should you elect and should you wait, right? But it's for our children and our grandchildren that need to be concerned. They could increase payroll taxes. So they could start taking more of a bite. That's a stealth tax, right? So we already know that that's when we get those FICA deductions. And you're like, well, what's all this for? That's going towards our Social Security. They could raise early retirement age or increase the penalty for taking early benefits. So instead of taking it 62, they can make you wait. Or if they did, instead of it being 25 or 30% reduction, maybe it's a 40%, right? These are just different ways for them to balance or to equal out the math problem. And then reduce cost of living increases. This is something where the government, when they first created this, tied it to COLA, the cost of living adjustment, right? And it's tied to the CPI based on wage earners, so CPIW. But in 2011 and in 2015, 0% increases came through. Depending on what's happening in the economy, right, could determine A, whether we get increases, or B, maybe they adjust that in the future to say, hey, listen, we don't like that ability to tie it to the CPI-W. We think that right now we're just going to make it static or flat. So I don't know what the politicians are going to do in the future, but these are things that they could do to alter their current promises. And that's what they are. They're promises that they have made to the American taxpayer that we have all bought into, right? We've all bought a bill of goods. We're entitled to this. And then, for them to change the rules along the way, we have to watch very, very carefully, right? So when and how should you elect your Social Security? So this is why this list right here is why we should not listen to the water cooler expert. That person that thinks that they know better than you do because their circumstances are different than yours. And again, Social Security decisions should not be made in a vacuum. So when and how you claim matters, right? Now, if you know that your family history and your genealogy and that, that typically people, longevity in your family is very short, and you reach 62 and you go, nobody in my family that's a male makes it past age 70, go ahead and claim, right? Because you probably made a good decision. But if everybody in your family is living longer and longer, then you might want to reconsider that. The rules are complicated, right? So, you make a decision, you turn around, you hop on my weekly chat with Chris and I say, hey, don't claim it's 62, but you've already started that process. Well, you could decide to pay back the government, right? And before you have 12 months to do that. There are a lot of little nuances and rules surrounding Social Security. And quite often the rank and file that work at the Social Security office, the local branches typically don't know. I'm not saying I know everything about Social Security, but if I don't, I know some people that typically do, and we can help give you guidance there. So there are many combinations of options, right? So it's not just one or the other. They've changed the rules along the way. There used to be file and suspend, and then they've done away with that depending on what year. So there's just a lot. You'll hear a lot of terminology that'll make your eyes gloss over. but everything is based on your PIA or your primary insurance amount. The Social Security office and personnel cannot and does not give advice. They can go in, they can say you're eligible, here's your amount, what would you like to do? And then your retirement date and your date you trigger your Social Security benefits may not necessarily be the same. That's a key point. Just because you decide to hang up your cleats and say, I'm no longer going to work at this job, does not mean you need to turn on Social Security. So just keep that in mind, because quite often somebody thinks, well, I'm going to stop working, I need income. But remember, Social Security is subject to something called provisional income, right? And it can be taxed at a higher rate because of money that you're drawing out of other accounts. So again, Social Security decisions should not be made in a vacuum. When you're electing your benefits, right? What's your marital status? What's your age? What's your life expectancy? Your total assets available, right? That's a key one. If you have money, right? So maybe going ahead and spending down, I call it a ticking time bomb, your 401k or your IRA, you've accumulated so much money there. Let's go ahead and spend that down so that we can get more of the money from the income stream from the government. Liquid assets, need for income, desire for a standard of living, right? What do you need or want to live on? Planning to continue to work. So that goes back to one of the first slides, which is, you decide that you want to change career paths. Just because you change career paths does not mean that you necessarily need to claim Social Security. And then survivor needs. That's one of the ones we talked about on the last couple of weeks, survivor spouse reductions, because of maybe an election that was made without consideration for what happens if that person passes. Now it's a haircut across the boards. So you need a strategy that considers these important factors. And then again, this is something that, whether it's myself, whether it's somebody on the call that invited you here, we can help you to run reports, analyzing and utilizing the rules of Social Security to your advantage to get the most out of the system over your lifetime. There's calculators that'll run. Now, sometimes it's a marginal difference. So it's like, it's really no big deal. But I've seen results by, using strategies that have resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars difference, depending on your circumstances. So this may involve combining or postponing certain benefits to maximize cumulative benefits, but your decision is unique. So again, I'm going to say to you that if you'd like a report from me or from somebody on this call, send us an email, right? If you're watching this video later and you'd like to see what something might look like for you, we can run an optimization report, just help you to sort of evaluate that decision on when your specifics might warrant a second look on when you should claim. So that's my email. That's my phone number. There's our disclosure, highly regulated industry as a financial advisor. And then lastly, thank you. I hope everybody on this call is doing well. Next week's call, we're going to do a market update. September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So I think that 3 out of the 4 weeks in September, depending on whether I'm in town or not, I know I have some travel that started to pick up in the fall. We will be honing in on that word that most people typically don't like to talk about. September is a month that I take very seriously. We will talk about it. If you have questions or would like a second opinion or review, also reach out to us. So folks, everybody have a great day. Stay cool out here. It's getting a little heated in August, and I hope everybody's well. Bye-bye.